Welcome, seekers of wisdom. What you're about to hear might shake you to your core. If you found this video, it's no accident. God has guided you here for a reason. Something extraordinary is unfolding in your life right now. You are divinely positioned for wealth, success, and abundance beyond what you can imagine. Yes, you heard that right. The very blessings you've been praying and believing for are already moving into your reality. But this isn't just about positive thinking. It's a deep, spiritual shift that is setting you up for financial breakthrough. As a chosen one, you're going to witness doors opening and opportunities aligning in ways that will leave you speechless. However, understanding how to position yourself for this shift is crucial. Before we dive into this life-changing revelation, take a quick moment to do 3 things. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers, and comment "I am breaking generational financial curses" in the comment box. This comment carries a powerful energy that amplifies your faith and aligns you with divine abundance. And here's the truth. If you're truly chosen, you'll watch this video all the way through because deep down, your spirit already knows this message is for you. Some won't be ready for this truth, but those who are, your life is about to change forever. Let's begin. 1. You carry a spiritual inheritance far greater than money. Generational wealth isn't just a concept, it's a calling. Proverbs 13:22 lays it out plainly. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. But here's the twist. Inheritance isn't just what you leave behind. It's also what you pour into others while you're here. And while material wealth is valuable, the true legacy that transcends time is something far greater. It's the divine wisdom that unlocks doors, the spiritual authority that shifts atmospheres, and the resilience that inspires others to rise higher. Let's break it down. If you're someone who's faced battles others would run from, if you've endured trials so intense they could have broken you, you're not just lucky to survive. You were chosen to overcome because your life is meant to be a testimony. You're being refined like gold in fire, and your value lies in what you've learned, not just what you've earned. Think about it. Anyone can pass down money, but how many people can pass down faith, wisdom, or the courage to dream when the odds are stacked against them? When you endure life's tests, you don't just gain survival skills, you gain spiritual wealth. You learn to lead with grace, to speak with authority, and to see life from a higher perspective. This is the kind of inheritance that lasts for generations. Your children and their children may never see the exact trials you've faced, but the principles you've built through those trials will shape how they navigate their own lives. That's real wealth. And let's not forget the power of the atmosphere. You carry something in your spirit that changes rooms the moment you step in. It's not arrogance. It's the presence of God working through you. It's why people either gravitate towards you or can't handle being around you. Your inheritance is the ability to influence, inspire, and shift perspectives. So the next time you wonder why your journey has been so challenging, remember this. God didn't design you for mediocrity. He placed something priceless within you. Your true wealth is in the seeds you plant, the legacy you leave, and the divine wisdom you carry. This is how you impact eternity. 2. The enemy attacks what he fears the most. Have you ever wondered why your journey has been filled with opposition, betrayal, and setbacks? Why? Every time you take a step forward, something tries to push you 2 steps back. It's not a coincidence. It's confirmation. The enemy doesn't attack the weak, the aimless, or the complacent. He attacks the destined. Look at Joseph. He was just a teenager when he had a dream that he would one day reign. But before the crown came the crushing, his own brothers, fueled by jealousy, threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. Then just as he was rising in Potiphar's house, he was falsely accused and cast into prison. It seemed like every step forward led to another painful detour. But here's the truth. Joseph wasn't just suffering for suffering's sake. He was being positioned. His trials weren't random. They were refining him for his divine assignment. Chosen one, the same is happening to you. The level of warfare in your life is directly tied to the magnitude of your calling. The enemy sees your potential before you do, and he will do everything in his power to stop you from stepping into it. That's why the attacks have been relentless. The isolation, the betrayal, the struggles, they are not signs of defeat. They are signs of elevation and progress. But here's what the enemy underestimates. You were built for this. You carry greatness within you, just like Joseph carried the palace while sitting in the pit. The hardship is temporary, but your destiny is eternal. God's plan for you cannot be canceled, no matter how many roadblocks the enemy throws your way. So what do? You endure. You keep the faith. You refuse to let the pit make you forget the promise. Joseph's pit was just a passageway to the palace, and your trials are merely steps towards your breakthrough. When life feels overwhelming, remind yourself, if the enemy wasn't afraid of my potential, he wouldn't be attacking me so hard. So stand firm, chosen one. Your story is still being written, and your victory is inevitable. 3. Not everyone can comprehend the wealth you carry within. Have you ever felt like people just don't get you? Like no matter how hard you try to explain your dreams, your ideas, or even your very essence, they look at you as if you're speaking another language. That's because you are. The language of purpose, vision, and divine calling isn't meant for everyone to understand. Think about it. Jesus himself wasn't accepted in his own hometown. The very people who watched him grow up couldn't comprehend the greatness he carried. They saw him as just the carpenter's son, Matthew 13:55. They couldn't fathom that someone so familiar to them could carry divine wisdom, power, and the keys to salvation. And the same is true for you. Stop explaining yourself to people who can't see. One of the biggest mistakes we make is trying to force people to understand our worth. We explain, we prove, we strive for validation, only to be met with resistance, indifference, or even rejection. Why? Because God didn't give them the vision. He gave it to you. Joseph in the Bible had a prophetic dream that he would rise to greatness. But when he shared it with his brothers, instead of celebrating him, they became jealous and sold him into slavery. Genesis 37:5-28. His mistake wasn't having the dream. It was thinking his brothers would understand it. Not everyone is meant to see what God is doing in your life. Some people will belittle you because they can't grasp the depth of your purpose. Others will walk away because they don't see immediate value in staying connected to you. And that's okay. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out, walk boldly. Even if you walk alone, greatness is often a lonely road. Look at the stories of the most impactful figures in history. Moses, David, Elijah, even Jesus. They all had moments of isolation, but isolation isn't rejection. It's refinement. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he led the Israelites to freedom. David was overlooked by his own father before he became king. Elijah had to flee to a cave before God spoke to him in a whisper. And Jesus, despite having crowds around him, still found himself alone in Gethsemane. What does this tell you? Sometimes walking alone is a prerequisite to stepping into your divine calling. If you're constantly seeking the approval of others, you may end up altering your path just to fit in. But true purpose isn't about pleasing people. It's about fulfilling the assignment God has placed on your life. The right people will recognize your worth. Without explanation, you don't have to convince the right people to see your value. When someone truly recognizes your worth, it won't be because you argued for it. It will be because it's undeniable. Jesus didn't beg for followers. He simply walked in his calling, and those who were meant to follow him did. The same applies to you. The right people will be drawn to you, not because of your explanations, but because of the undeniable light you carry. So walk boldly, even if you walk alone, because those who are meant to walk with you will find you. Note 4. You are breaking generational curses. Your ancestors may have struggled, but their story does not define yours. You are the Moses of your bloodline, the one chosen to lead your family out of cycles of financial struggle, emotional wounds, and spiritual. And let's be clear, this is no small calling. Breaking generational cycles is not for the faint of heart. It's exhausting, it's painful, and at times it feels downright impossible. But guess what? You were built for this. The weight of generational cycles, every family carries patterns. Some are blessings while others are burdens. Maybe poverty, broken relationships, addiction, or limiting beliefs have traveled down your family tree for generations. These cycles don't just appear randomly. They are deeply ingrained habits, mindsets, and spiritual strongholds passed from one generation to the next. Moses had to break a cycle too. His people, the Israelites, had been slaves in Egypt for over 400 years, so long that slavery became their normal. When Moses showed up, the Israelites had no concept of freedom. They doubted, they resisted change. Some even preferred the familiarity of slavery over the uncertainty of freedom. And isn't that the way generational cycles work? People would rather stick with the struggle they know than step into an unfamiliar future. But Moses didn't let their doubts define his purpose, and neither should you. You were built for this. You might wonder why life feels so heavy at times. Why you're fighting battles your parents and grandparents never had the strength to face. Why are you constantly pushing against resistance, trying to build wealth when no one taught you financial literacy, healing emotional wounds when no one showed you love, or deepening your faith when previous generations drifted from God? It's because you are the answer to the prayers of those who came before you. Your ancestors may not have had the tools to break free, but they had the hope that one day someone would. And that someone is you. Think about it. Why do generational cycles continue? Because no one rises up to stop them. You are the first, the cycle breaker, the trailblazer, the Moses. And it's hard, but it's also an honor. When doubt creeps in, remember this. Moses himself doubted his calling. He said, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" Exodus 3:11. He felt unqualified, just like you might when you feel the weight of your family's struggles on your shoulders. But God didn't choose Moses because he was the most skilled. He chose him because he was willing. And God is calling you in the same way. You may not have all the answers. You may feel unprepared. But if you stay faithful, if you keep pushing forward, one day your children, your grandchildren, and their children will live in the freedom you fought for. They will inherit prosperity instead of poverty, love instead of pain, and faith instead of fear. Your breakthrough is their blessing-breaking cycles isn't just about you. It's about everyone who comes after you. You are shifting the trajectory of your entire bloodline. Your faith, your resilience, and your sacrifices will echo for generations. So when doubt tries to make you abandon your calling, remember who you are. You are the Moses of your bloodline. You were built for this, and you will succeed. 5. Wealth is attracted to a renewed mindset. Many people believe that wealth is simply the result of hard work. While diligence and effort are important, they are not the ultimate keys to abundance. The foundation of true prosperity is found in the mind. Your thoughts, beliefs, and expectations shape the reality you experience. The Bible confirms this truth in Romans 12:2, which says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This means that your external world is a reflection of your internal world. If your mindset is filled with doubt, fear, and scarcity, then no amount of effort will create lasting abundance. When you shift your thinking, when you embrace a mindset of abundance, you position yourself to receive all that God has in store for you. The mindset shifts from scarcity to abundance. The world often teaches a scarcity mindset. There's never enough. Money is hard to come by. Only the lucky or privileged get wealthy. This way of thinking creates invisible barriers that keep people stuck. But here's the truth. God is not limited by human circumstances. He is the source of infinite abundance. And when you align your mind with His promises, you unlock a flow of blessing. Think about the Israelites in the wilderness. They worried about lack, even though God was providing for them daily. Some of them even wanted to return to slavery in Egypt because they were stuck in a scarcity mindset. But those who trusted in God's abundance, like Joshua and Caleb, stepped into the promised land. What you believe determines what you receive. Speak life over your finances, and future your words have power. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." That means the way you speak about your finances, your business, and your future matters. Instead of saying, "I'll never get ahead. Money always slips through my fingers. I'm not good with money." Start declaring, "God supplies all my needs. Opportunities are coming my way. Wealth and success flow to me effortlessly." This is not wishful thinking. It's aligning yourself with divine truth. You are programming your mind to expect provision. And when you expect blessings, they have no choice but to chase you down. Faith over fear. The law of divine expectation, the universe, or more specifically, the divine order God has established, does not respond to fear. It responds to faith. Fear repels blessings, but faith attracts them. Consider this. Peter was able to walk on water when his focus was on Jesus. But the moment he let fear creep in, he started sinking. The same principle applies to your finances, dreams, and calling. If you fix your mind on lack and fear, you will sink into struggle. But if you keep your faith strong and expect God's provision, you will rise above limitations. The takeaway: expect abundance. Wealth is not just about working harder, it's about thinking smarter. When you renew your mind, speak life over your circumstances, and operate in faith, you activate the supernatural flow of abundance. So today, start expecting blessings. Speak them, believe them, and watch them chase you down. 6. God is your provider, not man. Some people have failed you. Some have withheld opportunities. Some have doubted you. But guess what? They were never your source to begin with. How many times have you looked back and realized that the very people you thought you needed were actually obstacles to your growth? Maybe you were passed over for a job, betrayed by a friend, or ignored when you needed support the most. It stings, no doubt about that. But let's put things into perspective. The truth is, no human being has the power to dictate your destiny. No employer, no family member, no critic, and no gatekeeper hold the keys to your future. The world may try to convince you that success depends on connections, approval, or being in the right circles, but that is far from the truth. Your provision comes from God alone. Biblical proof. Joseph's story. Look at Joseph in the Bible. Genesis 37:50. His own brothers betrayed him, selling him into slavery. Potiphar's wife falsely accused him. He was thrown into prison and forgotten by people who had promised to help him. But none of that stopped God's plan for his life. When the time was right, God elevated Joseph from the prison to the palace, making him second in command over all of Egypt. Did his brother's betrayal block his destiny? No. Did the lies against him stop God's plan? No. Did the years of being overlooked cancel what God had spoken over him? Absolutely not. Because his source was never his family, his boss, or anyone else. It was God all along. God's blessings are irresistible when God decides to bless you. No force on earth can block it. No jealous coworker, no unfair system, no opposition can stop what God has ordained for you. Isaiah 14:27 says, "For the Lord Almighty has purposed, and who can thwart him? His hand is stretched out, and who can turn it back?" That means the job you didn't get, the promotion that was delayed, the opportunity that was snatched away, none of that was the final say. God is still writing your story, and when he opens a door, no one can shut it. Revelation 3. The illusion of human control. Many people walk around thinking they control your fate. They think if they don't support you, you won't succeed. If they withhold an opportunity, you won't advance. If they doubt you, you'll never make it. But here's the reality. They were never the ones holding your destiny in the first place. Psalm 75:6-7 reminds us, "For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge. He putteth down one, and setteth up another." God is your source, not people, not a company, not even your own abilities. And when God promotes you, he does it in a way that no one can take credit for. The power of divine timing. Sometimes what looks like rejection is actually God's protection. Maybe that denied opportunity would have led you into a toxic environment. Maybe that failed relationship would have distracted you from your purpose. What you see as a loss is often just God redirecting you to something better. So the next time someone doubts you, withholds an opportunity, or even outright betrays you, remind yourself, they were never your source to begin with. God is your provider, your promoter, and your protector. And when he decides to bless you, nothing and no one can stand in the way. 7. Your impact will outlive you. You may think the battles you face, the sacrifices you make, and the wisdom you gain are only for your personal journey, but they're not. What you're building today is a foundation for generations to come. Your obedience, your discipline, and your unwavering faith will bless children you haven't even met yet. The impact of your life will ripple through time, shaping destinies beyond your own. Legacy is more than just wealth. When people talk about legacy, they often think of financial inheritance, but true legacy is far deeper. It is the wisdom you pass down, the spiritual foundation you lay, and the example of resilience you set. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." This inheritance isn't just material. It's spiritual, mental, and emotional wealth. Your struggles today are breaking generational curses. Your wisdom is a torch passed through time, lighting the way for those who come after you. The discipline you cultivate will set a standard for your lineage. Your sacrifices, whether in your career, relationships, or faith walk, are paving roads that your descendants will walk upon with ease. History proves the power of legacy. Look at Abraham. His obedience to God wasn't just about him. Because he followed God's voice, his descendants became as numerous as the stars, Genesis 22:17. King David's heart for God secured a divine covenant that led to the coming of Jesus Christ. Even in secular history, figures like Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr., and Mother Teresa left legacies not because they sought personal gain, but because they lived with a vision beyond themselves. Your life is no different. You may not see the full picture now, but every act of obedience, every moment of perseverance, and every sacrifice you make is shaping a future beyond your lifetime. Your pain is not wasted. Maybe you wonder why your road is so difficult, why you face tests that others don't, and why your calling demands isolation and discipline. It's because your life is a blueprint for others. Someone will learn from your story, whether it's your own children or people who are simply watching you from afar. Think about a great oak tree. It starts as a tiny seed buried in darkness. It must push through soil, endure storms, and withstand harsh seasons before it ever provides shade, shelter, and nourishment to others. You are that tree. Move with purpose. Everything you do today matters. The choices you make affect not just your own future, but the legacy of your bloodline. Are you building something that will endure? Will your children inherit faith, strength, and wisdom, or confusion? Chosen one, your life is not just about you. You are part of a grand design, a divine strategy that extends beyond your years. Walk with purpose, stay obedient, and never fret. Your impact will outlive you. You are already walking in abundance. You are already breaking chains. You are already setting a new standard for generations to come. Don't be discouraged by what you see in the natural. God is working in the supernatural. Keep the faith. Walk boldly. You are generationally rich, and nothing can change that. If this message resonated with you, drop a like in the comments. Make sure to subscribe and stay connected. Your journey is just beginning. Having said this,